are within the Syrian National Council, which is not true. That is number one. And number two, she was saying, when we raised the question of self-determination for Kurds, she was saying that is right, we are not against, but we have a point that Syrian people, they are very threatened from this self-determination. So in fact, if we have something right, we have to go forward, and we don't have to say they are threatening or they are not threatening. The other things she mentioned when she started, rather than saying we thank EU Parliament to give us a chance to sit here, she started with saying, I am really sorry and I do apologize and I am really concerned about the EU Parliament letting the other group, which we, all of us today, so she is against this point we are hearing today, because we are voice of freedom, we are telling true and right messages, and we are not afraid of anybody because we are doing in the right things and in right direction. But they are very afraid of all these things. And regarding to the 90% they are within the Syrian National Council, she was saying that Damascus Declaration is a part of it and Brotherhood is a part of it. And as we know, Damascus Declaration today is not exist at all. Kurds have withdrawn and it's only few members that are part of it. I think my time is over. So thank you very much for your attention, and I wish best future for Syria, and we will all work together for sake of Syria and for unite this opposition, hopefully. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Youssef, thank you for that. I'll go straight to the interpretation, if you would kindly. Thank you.
Speaker, please. Stop.
أشكر لكم جميعكم. أنا اسمي أنور يوسف من المجلس الوطني الديمقراطي. أشكر جميعكم وأشكر السيد موريس ويليام وكذلك الجميع لحضوره. أولا سأحاول أن أوجز. النظام مسؤول عن القتل والعنف وجميع الجرائم التي تتم الآن. علينا أن نقوم بإجبار النظام على التوقف عن العنف والقتل، ونحن كمعارضة مسؤولين لأننا لسنا متحدين ولا نعترف ببعضنا. أنا جزء من المجلس الوطني الديمقراطي السوري، وهدفنا هو توحيد المعارضة والعمل سويا من أجل سوريا. أظن أن المجلس الوطني قام بخطف العمل، المجلس الوطني السوري قام بخطف العمل باسم المعارضة، وعلينا كاتحاد هيئات التنسيق الداخلية والمجلس الكردي الداخلي مع أن النظام لا يعترف بحقوق الأكراد. في مؤتمر أمس حضرت الصيت السيدة قضماني وزملائها، لأنها تقول أن 90% من الشعب السوري مع المجلس الوطني وبالنسبة لحق تقرير المصير فهي ضد الأكراد، فهي تقول نعم لكن على أن الشعب السوري هو الذي يقرر ذلك. شيء آخر، بدل شكر البرلمان الأوروبي لكنها آسفت لأن البرلمان الأوروبي يسمح لنا بالاجتماع اليوم هنا. وقد أعلنت أن إعلام دمشق جزء من المجلس الوطني، ونحن وأن الأحزاب الكردية انسحبت من المجلس من إعلام دمشق، ونعرف أن إعلام دمشق راح يقال بعد الآن. وشكرا لكم.
Thank you very much for that. No sooner had I put in place time restrictions of 5 minutes, but I received representations that some of the speakers may need slightly longer than that. I will be as flexible as I can be, but please do bear in mind that with the interpretation as well, it is creating time pressures, and I want to be sure that we get as much interaction as we can from the floor. Can I move on swiftly at this point, please, to call on Dr. Hala Daya to kindly make her intervention today.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming to listen to us. 2001 has been a year of significant change in Syria. Calls for freedom have cried out from the street of Midan in Damascus to the streets of Hama and Daraa. But still, many critical, unanswered questions and challenges remain. First, who are the opposition and what do they represent? Second, what is the future and legitimacy of political Islam in the region in the light of the change? Third, would an imposition of Sharia law suppress the new expressions of freedom and democracy in Syria before they get a chance to define themselves and develop? Fourth, what is the future of women's rights and gender equality in Syria? These challenges are all interrelated. But for me, the principal challenge has been and will always be the future of women's rights in the region. Perhaps this is because when I was still a teenager in the Syrian high school some years ago, I really never imagined I would have the courage today and come here and talk about the change in future Syria. Maybe because as a generation, we have all grown up living in fear that invaded all aspects of our life. Fear to express one's opinion, fear of those in political power, religious authorities, and fear of violence associated with sexual biases and prejudice. One of the first challenges we must face is to learn to break free of fears. By bravely, not enough to call for freedom and change in the streets of Syria. We need to work together to build up a strategy, a program, agenda to build a change in Syria. The first challenge I really want to talk about, who represent all Syrians? We need to define the opposition. Who are they? And what do they stand for? Because of these restrictions, as you all know, in Syria, the majority of dialogue and organization has occurred far from the Syrian borders. It's impossible for democracy to develop in the absence of open discussion and free speech. The conditions now in Syria have been anything but this. The silence of the domestic scene has been filled with the voices in the exile. However, we all know that most of those who represent foreign-based opposition parties are individuals who have been away from Syria for 20 or 30 or 50 years. The fear is these people may be disconnected from the Syrian youth in Damascus or in Hama or in Daraa or wherever in Syria, and really not aware of the needs of the Syrian youth. The debate today, actually, is now far beyond the simple polarities of pro-regime and or anti-regime. The question is essentially about how to radically change the system from one of dominance and control to pro-democracy and pro-change. And here when I speak about system, it's not only political system. It's about educational system in Syria. It's about social system. It's about family system. It's about even gender equality and gender system in Syria. The greatest risk facing our country is to simply substitute one repressive system with another one, just as restrictive and limiting. Syrian society and its institutions need to make radical change, need to evolve from a system of submission and fear to one of dialogue that ensures continued secular participation of all Syrians. With regard to the question of the legitimacy and the future of political Islam in